Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm Harvey Freed. Alongside of me, Becky Alley.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. I'm happy to be here. And it's a beautiful, almost spring-like summer day. I don't know.
It's beautiful everything here in Michigan. Becky, this town is jamming. What was going on? We got to introduce the guest, and we'll talk all about what's going on in Detroit because our town is just jumping. There's so much going on around town. And we got Tiger Baseball a little bit later in the day. But introduce this fine staff that you brought in.
Yeah,
here.
we got Andrew Hannigan from Jim Schaefer and Associates, and we got Kelly from Stoneway Group. We are so excited to have them, both of them under the Good Company umbrella. We're super excited to have them in the studio. They are no rookies. They are my fellow people. I love them very much, very dearly, and there's no one else I'd rather have in the studio with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Well, is that great or what? That's a good intro right there. 248-539-9797 if you want to talk real estate and mortgages. Only 1 hour, and then, of course, we could talk about your sports, and we got Pat Caputo coming in. And
I'm going to be at the Tiger game later, so hopefully they win.
You are going to? Yeah, they're going to bounce back today. But, Becky, what was going down in Detroit, the Michigan Central Station? It was jamming. I only got fortunate enough to watch it on TV.
What isn't going on in Detroit right now? So you had the amazing spectacle. I didn't get to go, but Andrew went. I was trying to get tickets, but the internet broke that day, and then I forgot to try and go back and get them. But it looked amazing. And then you got Motor City Pride tonight in Hart Plaza all day, all weekend, and then you got the Tigers. But tell me about, okay, so what was the energy? Because
it was wild. It was electric. Yeah, I saw Diana Ross, who's 80 years old, and Eminem at the same time, right? Seeing two legendary performers on the same stage on the same night. Wild. It was awesome. It was an awesome show, and it was a lot of fun.
I don't want to go ahead and repeat everyone who was on stage that night, but it was really a cool show to watch on TV.
Diana Ross, Jack White, Eminem. There were so many awesome performers. I can't even think of all the names. Yeah.
All the great Detroiters here.
Yeah.
Again, all
I
of them
had major
giving
FOMO.
back.
I was like, this crowd looks lame. It'd be way better if I was there.
Yeah.
Definitely need a little more dancing in the crowd. We'll talk about that later, too. Again, mortgages and real estate. And guys, we always talk about what's going on in today's marketplace here, really in Southeast Michigan. It's really whatever's happening here is generally going on everywhere. Becky said it again last week. Michigan is no longer one of these states where we take off in the winter. It's been gangbusters since the calendar turned to January 1st. Are you seeing any more? The numbers say there's a little bit more inventory out there, Kelly. Is there some more inventory out there in our areas?
I'm not seeing the inventory that they're talking about.
Okay, me neither. Okay.
not seeing much of that inventory, to be honest. We're looking at a lot of multiple offer situations on anything that is popping up.
It's still gangbusters out there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Multiple offers. Not seeing too many houses being listed out week after week, but just doing what we can.
Yep.
Just like trying to make it
hanging on.
Yeah, we're hanging on there. So like the reality is that the first time buyers are really getting handed it to them. Like, and we always talk about that often, right? Whereas you have the individuals that are still holding on to that equity because they have the 3% interest rate. I'm getting a lot of calls for home equity lines and then what's happening is they want to take these home equity lines and use it for the down payment for their next house. So that way they don't have to be contingent, things like that. So I do think that we will see some inventory, but you were mentioning even, Andrew, before that, like in some areas, you're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown in some of these offers.
In certain areas, yeah. I was saying also in areas like Rochester, Troy, don't get me wrong, it's still crazy nuts up in those areas where people can compete and put a good chunk of change down. But in areas maybe where it's just a little bit lower price points, we're not seeing 10, 15 offers per house. It's maybe like 1 to 6 offers per house, which it's still amazing, right? It's still awesome to get that for a seller, but it's not as gangbusters as it used to be in certain price points, I'm noticing.
So what price point are you
I would say like the 100 to 300,000 price points in certain neighborhoods. It's not as nuts right now.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. It's still busy, but I think it's an opportunity for a buyer to get in at a better opportunity right now.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the buyers that I'm talking to, they almost are, their frustrations are once they see what they're getting for like 100,000, it's almost like they're getting discouraged a little bit because the affordability thing is really the issue. I can also identify what someone can pay for $1,000 or $1,500, what they're paying in rent, but then you have the funds for closing and things like that. But I do agree with you that in that price point, people are the renters right now. They are sick of renting. They want to purchase the next house. So I feel like the investors have slowed down a little bit in that price point because there's some of these programs I would say is they have it blocked out where investors can't even bid on these houses for the
Right.
first 30 days because they're trying to eliminate the fact that the investors are coming in and gobbling up all these properties.
Yeah, they definitely want to have homeowners in there that can
Yeah.
even then sell the house and then have repeat clientele. There's a lot of reasons why we want to get families in these communities that build stronger communities. I was always thinking that like the 7% sort of been the bar where the mortgage rates have been for a little bit. If the rates truly drop down to 6%, I don't think that would really be enough motivation to get a lot of those families, the empty nesters that we used to have, they would get out of their homes, they would downsize, they would move out of state, they would go to the retirement home. I don't know if 6% is going to be the trigger, but I truly think 5.5% and 5%, if we saw almost a 1.5% or 2% decline, I think that would get some motivation going for some of the empty nesters. Again, maybe an opportunity for them to go buy or downsize in their house. Right now, they don't want to leave those 3% interest rates.
No, but it's like to the point though, it's a disservice because you have so many people that even bought in 2020 that don't even like their house anymore. They overbought and they romanticize this idea of, oh, I have this 3% interest rate, but I'm paying $15,000 a year in taxes and I can't afford it, but I can't let go of this 3% interest rate. So instead, I'm going to jack up all my credit cards because I'm going to live off those. And there's just this backward like perspective of like the way of living in the real estate world right now. And I feel like if you're living in a home that doesn't serve you, you got to let it go because that 3% interest rate is not doing you any good if you can't afford your lifestyle.
I think we've got the message out there too, Andrew. I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead with your
No, I think it's really situational too, right? Like I've had a lot of clients say like, but my 3% interest rate, right? But you're having your fourth child and you're in a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house. Do you need to move or not, right? For how much longer do you want to hold on to that 3% interest rate, or do you want a 5-bedroom home over your 3-bedroom home, right? It's very situational. Or it's like, hey, I'm being transferred out of state. Oh well, you got to move.
I think the message is out there though that simply buyers just don't want to wait anymore, and I still feel like we're going to be so strong throughout. Again, still wrapping up spring here until the 20th, and then summer months, and then I think fall is going to also be extremely busy. Simply buyers don't want to wait any longer and allow these home prices to just get out of it's getting so crazy with the home prices. They just don't have the extra money, the extra bidding. I had a Mishta loan. It's going to close on Monday, and sure enough, way over asking. We had to go in high. The appraisal came in low. Renegotiation. They're coming up with a lot of money. This particular buyer's coming up with a lot of money to make up the difference, but the house is in move-in ready condition, so it's got some benefits there.
Yeah, if you don't follow us on Facebook or YouTube, you need to, because last week we actually had Mike Tomchek of Paramount Appraisals, and it was like a masterclass as far as like values and the difference between price and value, right? What someone's willing to pay for the house, that's what they're willing to pay, but it doesn't mean that's the value of the home. And and this is that season where you're going to see the most appraisals come in the lowest because you're still dealing with winter sales that haven't caught up with the push of the lack of inventory and the more people entering the market in the summertime. So what you're talking about is, you know, if I'm getting any low appraisals and any lender out there and any real estate agent, you're going to always see them more times than not in the June month, June, early July. And then after that, things kind of catch up, but you can still make it work. So for example, I have a property, it was like 135 in Melvindale. Mijda, down payment assistance. They got to do the things. They were selling it for 135. So we got an appraisal in and it came in at 115. Well, we're seasoned enough where we can look at it and I can say, hey, this is a good appraisal or it's not. And, you know, we can kind of like, can you give me some additional points where additional sales and let me fight this, or not really fight it, but just have them reconsider
Try
what
to
we're
do the
looking.
rebuttal. Yeah, we rebuttal
and
appraisals.
so we just got it back and we were able to get it up $10,000.
Okay, now
so
you
now
got
we're
a
at
deal.
125 and the buyer's going to come up another $500. So now we're at a 125.5. Everyone is happy and we're going to close it. So just because the value is coming in low, it doesn't mean that the buyer has to come up with all this money, because who you work with matters in those situations. And you're not going to win them all, but we're very, very good at being objective, taking the emotion out of it, and being very factual about what we're looking at when it comes to these values. But at the same time, you guys as a buyer's agent, our first and foremost, you know, like thought is not for our buyer to pay more for a house, right? That's not what we're trying to do. But at the same time, you can tell where there's a value and what the price should be. So in a situation we're like, okay, let's rebut this appraisal. We're doing it so we can make everyone be in alignment, but it's not so we're trying to make someone overpay for the house, because the value is the value.
Absolutely. And to your point, it doesn't really matter who you work with as well. It's who can work well with another agent too, because we're all trying to do the same things for our clients, represent people fairly and it's knowing who can truly represent you and know what you need and really go to bat for you as well, and work really well with another agent and negotiate on your behalf. And to be under contract for 135, but then make everyone happy at 125.5 can be kind of tricky. But to get to that and get everyone to the closing table and make everyone happy is a great win for everyone.
Hey, things like you can do rebuttals on appraisals, put it all together, negotiate a little bit. Hey, if you love the house at 135 in Becky's case, you definitely love it at 125.5.
Yeah, everyone wins in that situation.
There you go. That's a win-win. All right, the music says we're up against our first break here. Keep it on 97.1 The Ticket. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. All righty, welcome back to the show. We are live here in the 97.1 studios, Jamie Samuelson studio, actually, giving you the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 24th year. We love doing it. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS 1820-1820, Equal Housing Lender. When you want professional service and experience, call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. You can find Becky and our entire staff. I hang out there Monday through Friday quite a bit, too, and you can ask for us. And again,
I'm running the streets.
You're on the streets so much. There's no obligation to get that strong approval letter, and that's what we're talking about. We still are seeing quite a few clients, and I've got those clients. You know, they talked to me 3 or 4 months ago, and then the phone will ring this afternoon and say, Harvey, I found the house I need. So it's really important that you're keeping up to date on your approval letter so that you can make that great offer. And Kelly and Andrew, when you guys are making those offers, definitely you're reaching out to the lenders and saying, hey, can we update this approval letter? Have you spoke to them? Where are we at with this?
Want to keep everyone updated, all the letters, all the pre-approval letters anyway. when we send in that offer, we go look at a house and you love it. If we don't have that letter updated and ready to go, then we can't send that offer in immediately. Then we're having the lenders also calling that agent to reassure them that the qualifications are there, that the funds are ready to go. That just adds that little bit of reassurance as well that they're they're ready to go, they're serious about buying, and that they're very, very qualified.
Whenever I send an offer, I CC the lender on every offer, and I have the lender call the listing agent as well, just to really just back up our offer and solidify us. So
what blows my mind though is there's still a lot of lenders. So I'm doing a public service announcement for like any lender out there that get your life together. Okay, that
that was nice of you.
Yeah, that they don't call. Like they don't call. Like I had talked to an agent and I was like, hey, I'm Becky Alley. Just want to reach out to you, let you know that our buyers like all the things. We're rainbows and sunshine, and we have the money too, right? And they're like, I've never had a lender call me before. I didn't know lenders call. I'm like, what are you like? What? Like I don't know. Wow. I don't know. When I hear calls like that, I'm like, well, then you're not working with the right people. Like, hi.
Yeah,
nice
it's funny.
I'm Becky Alley.
I called a lender. I called actually a real estate agent, and early in May, the transaction's closing on Monday, and she goes, Harvey, you don't remember who I was? I started the radio show with you. A little shout out to Kristen St. Clair out there real quick. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot. But, it's always important to communicate. I think communication is really the key. If
Answer
you want
your
to get
phone.
That's a good start.
Answer your freaking phone. Okay,
Yes.
There should be like a thing about that, because if your phone is ringing, that is money on your phone. Okay. As far as if you're a listing agent, and you are holding someone's listing, which means that you're trying to collect offers and you do not answer the phone, you are doing your client a disservice.
It's part of the gig. Yep. It's part of the job.
And it's a problem, is it not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's part of the job. Answer your phone for your client. I agree.
That's the fun part anyways. The process is complicated and confusing for a lot of first-time home buyers out there, especially people who have never done this before. Mm-hmm. And if you have done it before, I bought a house before, that means you've only done it once or twice. So it's really important just to go back and find out all the different nuances that are involved in mortgages. Again, there's all sorts of down payment assistance programs that can assist you. There's all sorts of different ways you can go about a mortgage. And it really blows my mind still that families still think that you need 20% down. Becky, we got families getting in with 1% down, 0 down, 3%. So many opportunities out there to get in with just a little bit of money.
Yeah, I'm going to go over my 3 top, first-time buyer, even just repeat buyers, right? The biggest mistakes are you think you need 20% down. You don't. Even if you're not a first-time buyer, we have programs where you can actually get assistance, or you can put 5% down if you want it, if you're not trying to look for assistance. Not keeping money in the bank. There's a lot of individuals that have it in their ceiling tiles or their safe or their vault, or I don't know where the refrigerators. If you're taking financing on, you have to have money in the bank. It has to be something that I can follow around the money. We have to see where it's coming from. And the biggest buyer mistake that I feel is people don't even try. They are continuously lifetime renters, and they think that home ownership is something that is always going to be evading them for the rest of their lives. And that's just simply not true. You just have to have the conversations, because oftentimes we'll find that there's individuals that feel that they don't qualify, and they do. And then some people are overly confident, and then we need to fix their credit, right? So the sooner you can have the conversation, the better. If you think home ownership is something that you want between now and the next 5 years, reach out to a lender, whether it's us at Capital Mortgage Funding or whoever it is that you have a relationship with. Reach out to somebody, because there's a reason why investors don't care what the interest rates are, because they know they're going to refinance eventually and they're going to cash flow that property, and you are parking your car in their driveway. And I'd much rather you park your own car in your own driveway and build up that equity, because that's where wealth and true home ownership, it's the American dream, and it always will be.
Yep.
Kelly, we feel like we're always encouraging, educating, empowering families to take ownership of their lives, develop good financial behaviors. Mm-hmm. These are things we're constantly teaching on here. Again, 24 years we've been on the radio just talking about mortgages and real estate. Once in a while we'll get a nasty ticket text that says, you guys always think it's a great time to buy a house. We do. And I want to go on the record with that. We 100,000% want you to become a homeowner, have a roof over your head, build strong communities, and enjoy some equity maybe in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're always paying a mortgage, no matter what, you're either paying your mortgage or someone else's mortgage. Like Becky said, you're parking your car in someone else's driveway. Mm-hmm. So either your house is appreciating and you're putting money back into your asset, or you're putting money back into someone else's.
Yeah.
So to start building some equity, your home is going to appreciate. Even if you have to get into a bidding war right now in this very competitive market, your home will appreciate over the next 5 to 10 years, however long you're going to be into the home, and you aren't overpaying you will catch up with that, and you
Totally.
are going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's a big piggy bank that you're paying yourself back on.
And we recognize sometimes, like I have clients, they're overpaying for the house a bit. They're over asking to get the house. They had to come in, really heavy. They're going to have their family. They're in the house. They're going to be raising them. And the basement's already finished. You go try to purchase these items. Try to hire a contractor. Becky, you had to do a big project recently, a couple years ago. And what you think, Adam just finished up the show, Hire It Done. Yeah. What you think costs $10,000 to get done is probably $25,000, $30,000. Things cost a lot of money now. And especially if you go to the grocery store, you already know that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And I mean, the fact is that anyone that bought the house between 2018 and 2020, that's when 2018 is when it really started to kind of go over asking. And in 2020, we all know it was like 100,000 over asking in some of these cases. And people thought you were crazy, but you made up that appreciation because there's a lack of inventory. Anyone that bought a house in 2018, more times than not, your house is now worth double what you paid for it. So to Kelly's point, if you were to stack up $50,000 or $100,000 in front of you, would you take it? The answer is yes. And that is what's happening with home ownership. When you are making these payments, you are building that equity. And yes, it's not tangible till you pull it out of the home or sell it or whatever, but it's still there for you to tap into as you need to. And I wanted to buy a house that was turnkey, and I bought a house that had to touch everything. I had to touch all the things.
You thought it was turnkey.
Yeah, I mean, it had good bones. It was whatever. But when you're doing these projects, it's a lot. So if you are getting a good deal right now, let's just say you are buying grandma's house that needs a little bit of work, but it has good bones. If you're getting a good deal right now, great. But make that home your own. But if you can get a turnkey right now and you pay a little bit extra, that $50,000 over ask is less than probably what you'd have to pay to finish the basement yourself, put in a pool yourself. These things are a lot of money and a lot of time.
You guys are doing this walk up, like, the walk up music in baseball and softball. We'll get to that a little bit later, but you're walking up to the home. You got the buyers are with you. Everyone parked in the street. I don't know. Maybe there's another family coming in right behind you. You guys are already starting to look at things. The front porch. What's the first impression of the house? And tell me how that goes right at the beginning. What do you guys do as you're walking up and approaching these new homes?
And do you want to hip check people too and be like, this is our house?
I mean, sometimes you walk up to, so overlapping appointments kind of went away during COVID. But they've since come back, and I've seen, and I think during very, very competitive times, overlapping appointments are allowed now. So sometimes you do walk up to a house. You try to be as courteous as possible, but there are some people that kind of, try to step on your feet a little, but it is what it is. And you try to be as courteous as possible. But walking up as you're approaching a house, you want to, as a seller, you want people to see something. You want to put your best foot forward and just at least showcase your home as best as possible. So first impressions do really, really, really matter to buyers, especially. So
don't have the gutter hanging off and the tree limbs all over the place and a complete mess out there. I mean, again, those first impressions are really important, right? Sets the tone.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we got some open lines here, 248-539-9797. Don't make those bad decisions like some people did during the housing bubbles. Many homeowners borrowed so heavily against their house. Well, you can only take out, generally speaking, 80%, maybe up to 90% on a home equity loan. So the days are really gone where you're getting 125%. This is what caused all the problems in the past. There's no more 125% pulling out future equity out of your home. Those folks lost their home. They gave up. They threw in the towel. Had they hung on to their house, Becky, they would have done quite well now. But those families and that whole bad prescription for home ownership, that doesn't happen anymore. This is a better opportunity to get into something. It's a little bit safer out there. It's not the olden days where you thought like you were overpaying and then the whole thing would collapse on you.
It was wild. Okay, so everyone, I've been in the business for 20 years. Obviously, Harvey's got me beat a little bit as far as time, but we were a part of that, and it was wild, and it wasn't regulated. And so when you hear people talk about, I'm going to wait, there's a housing crash and the bubble's going to happen and all the things, it is a completely different atmosphere situation. These are highly regulated, well-qualified mortgages that are out there. We have to be individually licensed. We have to take 8 hours every year. If you're trying to get licensed in other states like the Carolinas, I had to retake the original 20 hours that I took.
Did you?
2 decades ago.
Oh,
yes.
boy.
I mean, so everything, and even with you guys have on the real estate side, you have to be,
Continuing education.
you have to constantly be dialed in. So these mortgages that everyone has, right now they are qualified. And even if you're doing down payment assistance, they are getting underwritten 2 different times. And the average house has at least 40% equity in the home. So even if you did want to do a cash out refinance on the house you bought in 2020, the max you can touch is 20% of that, because we need to make sure that people are not overextended. So even right now, when you are overpaying, you are overpaying. It's not the mortgage company that's overpaying. You are the one that is bringing the additional funds to get to over the price versus value, because we're only going to lend based off the value, not the price. But if someone wants to win on that $400,000 house and they're like, okay, well, we're going to have to go in 30,000 over. That's a conversation that seasoned agents like Andrew and Kelly are having. And let me just go on record and saying that when you are in alignment with people that genuinely care about you, they're in their studio with us right now. Andrew and Kelly, they both are amazing people, but they're amazing professionals. They genuinely care. They are boots on the ground. They do this every day, but they know what they're doing because they do it every day, but they also have done it for themselves. And they're not here to sell you. They're here to help you. They're here to advocate for you, but they're also going to tell you no. If something doesn't work out or if something's not the best deal, they're not afraid to tell you no. And that's when you know you're in alignment with the right people.
Alrighty, I'm going to go to a quick break here. When we come back, I love all this conversation. It's mortgages and real estate at 248-539-9797. You know what? We got tax season coming up. July 1st, the summer tax bill's coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about how that impacts your closing in the month of June. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage, Real Estate, and Business Show, the fastest show on the radio. We take all your calls, 248-539-9797. It's about mortgages, real estate. We've had divorce attorneys on, title insurance people, appraisers on last week, great real estate agents, not too bad of lenders either here. Becky Alley over here to my right, top 1% of all originators. And I've only been at it for 33 plus years. So definitely we're here to answer some questions and make the process smooth, easy, and hassle-free. Again, open lines. Let's go to our first caller, and then you guys want to talk about setting up borrowers for success.
Yeah.
Let's go to caller Bob out there. Bob, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Real good. What's happening?
Well, I have live in Beverly Hills. It's about a 4,000 square foot ranch. We're looking to put maybe another 1,000 square feet on it, a couple of bedrooms, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And the home is paid for. We own it. And I think the addition should cost, I don't know, $350,000, $400,000. And I was wondering if it's better to do home equity loan for maybe $200,000 or a small mortgage for $200,000. And I have the other $200,000.
I'm going to go on record and say you're better off doing a straight up cash out refi mortgage because the interest rate is going to be much more palatable than you took if you did a home equity line. A home equity line is almost pushing double digits. They're going to be high nines, low tens on a home equity line. So you're definitely going to be much better taking a cash out refinance. You're going to get a better, and then you can always do a 15-year, get in the low sixes in that situation. And that way and it's also going to be interest, you can write that interest off on your taxes.
Yeah, I love that suggestion, Becky, because not only that, then you can basically get signed up with our rate rebound program. So if you did get into, let's just say the rate, Bob, end up being in the mid sevens. Well, when the rates come down, we can refinance you at very minimal cost. Do you want to deal with a lender like us who actually services the loan so we can take care of you and maybe drive that ladder down or sort of fall off the ladder when the rates
slide
go,
down the
just
slide.
slide down the slide, slide down. But that's a huge addition. Let me ask you something, Bob. Why are you doing the addition? I'm just curious. Did you run out of room? You have another family moving in? What do you got going on over there?
We have a huge ranch. It's actually about 4,400 square feet, but it's only 3 bedrooms.
Oh, okay, so you're just
the way
looking
it was
at
built. So every room is huge, and now we have 3 children. So we're looking to add 2 more bedrooms, cut one of the bedrooms into kind of a family room type of thing. So
sounds fantastic. I think you guys will enjoy that. And again, he's sitting on a gold mine. If you're in Birmingham, Beverly Hills, and a lot of great cities across Southeast Michigan, you're not going to go wrong. Bob, thanks for the call. We'll follow up with you and see if we can help you out with that transaction.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Appreciate the call again. Families looking, hey, I'm going to stay here. I was going to say you could sell the thing, right?
Oh, Beverly
the real
Hills is
estate.
awesome, though.
Yeah,
It's
a
very
cool
highly
city.
sought after. It's a great location.
So
I
there's-
feel pickleball courts.
Pickleball courts. But even that improvement, right? That's an improvement that it's going to add value to the home. Right. But I just want to kind of talk about that. There's a lot of conversations about home equity lines of credit right now versus or a standalone second versus a cash out refinance. And we do them all. There's nothing that we can't do. So I can do a home equity line of credit, I can do a standalone second, I can do a cash out refinance. But the second mortgages so a home equity line of credit is a second mortgage. It's not a primary lien. Those interest rates are higher. They are. It is what it is. So when the Fed was increasing the interest rates, that was something that was directly affected. That's considered short-term lending, credit cards, student loans, car loans, and that was something that was directly affected by what the Fed has done with the interest rates. Whereas the mortgage rates, you're still going to be able to get in the high sixes, low sevens in that kind of situation. So that is going to be a definitely better cash out refinance for that caller, whatever his name was. I'm sorry.
Hey, this was caller Bob. Hey,
Bob.
just another
Bob.
reason why you want to deal with Capital Mortgage Fund. Again, we've been around a long time. There's reasons why we're a real true lender, correspondent lender, meaning that we're already set up with the big lenders in the country so we can refinance as these rates slide down. As they tumble down, whenever that happens, there's an opportunity to save money. Hey, guys, we're always thinking about saving money. Sometimes you got to invest. And in this case, he's going to put some money back into his home and make the home even more desirable. And then one day he's sitting on this gold mine. Sounds like he's been in pretty good shape. Again, being financially savvy, very, very important stuff here. But you guys, let's talk about setting up these buyers, first-time home buyers, second-time home buyers. How do we set up people for success? A few helpful tips on where you guys go with it.
Yeah, so I always say whenever I'm out showing a house for the first time to my clients, right, it's an exciting process, it's fun, and there might be like sunshines and rainbows, and you're out seeing the house for the first time, there's granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. I might be the small little rain cloud because I'm going to say, hey, when we first get there, let's almost do like a mini inspection because I want to look at the foundation, the siding, the roof, the gutters, the age of the furnace, the age of the AC, the big ticket items that are going to cost you a good chunk of change in the first 0 to 5 years, right? Let's try and find out what all those big ticket items are because if the house is a multiple offer situation, we could do something called an informational purposes only home inspection. I never recommend waiving a home inspection. You can if you want, but I never recommend it. But you could do something called called informational purposes only, or like a health and safety home inspection that helps. It essentially says to the seller, we're not going to come back and ask for any concessions, right? And it sets our buyers up for to be more successful in a multiple offer situation.
I love that. I haven't talked about that in a while. Becky and I used to talk about it all the time. When you walk into the house, this is your home inspection, right? Because you might have to do that pass-fail inspection. So many times I'll call an agent. I'm like, hey, just trying to get in touch with you about this closing. They're like, oh, hey, Harvey, I was at a listing appointment. What are you doing? Following them around like a dog? I know. Go in the house and find out things. Don't just walk around and go, this is the primary suite. And we already know that. And by the way, the kitchen's the room in the first floor with the refrigerator usually and the oven. But what's the age of these appliances? Go check out the furnace age. Go pull out the furnace filter. Same with the hot water heater. If there's a lot of rust in water, evidence of water on the ground, now you know. And again, hot water heaters, even that, Becky, something that used to cost $800, $900 years ago, it's about $2,000 just for a 50-gallon replacement on a hot water heater. You just want to know as you're going to make this huge offer on a house. It's your first time, it's your second time buying a house.
I love what Andrew was just saying. So that was Andrew Hannigan of Good Company, but Jim Shaver Associates. Like, you do need to almost like have someone hurt your feelings about the house, right? Anyone can Vanna White anything. Like, oh, can I get a vowel, please? I want to make sure I know that the house has integrity, right? Just like my agent, I want to make sure my agent has integrity, right? What are the bones? What does it look like in there? And if someone is recommending that you have to waive a home inspection to win the property, pass. Pass all that, 100%. Because once you own that property, or it is yours, and if you don't do a sewer scope or something like that, and there's real like roots in there or whatever, I mean, that is a huge big ticket item that you might not have the expense to the finances to pay for that.
If your agent's recommending waiving that, or if they're not walking around showing you the ages of the mechanicals, things like that, if they're not recommending a sewer scope inspection on the property, they're doing you a disservice. Totally.
I completely agree with Andrew.
Like
absolutely.
Circle gets the square on that one.
And there's some other things too that pop up. Like my brother buys this house and he loved it. And when I finally went over to the house, I'm like, dude, had I actually come to this house before you made the offer, I might have said, don't buy it. He has he had 150, 120 foot trees that he had to take down, and 4 or 5 of them. And just little things like that. You're like, oh, I love the shade, until you find out you've got to, trim it up. You got to spend money on it. You got to take care of the landscape. And you're looking at these ancillary costs that are involved in home ownership. And these pop up all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to have an agent that knows what they're looking at, knows what they're talking about when approaching a house, when going to a house, walking around. Have someone that knows a thing or two about something, that cares about what you're looking for, what you're looking at, is a little bit educated on appliances or on mechanicals, and knows
a rough range of those costs and what they might be to replace too. Right?
Exactly. That's so important to have someone that's at least a little bit has a little bit of knowledge about that stuff. Mm-hmm. We're not certified inspectors by any means, but we know what we're talking about when we're walking around a home, and we know when a foundation looks a little bit shoddy, or we know when something looks a little bit askew, and we're going to let you know. And it's important to have someone that's honest with you. And like Andrew said, we might be a little dark cloud, but we're being honest, and we're not going to let you get something that isn't going to be good for you or good for your family. It's not going to be a good investment.
No, and that's where like like we're talking about the integrity, right? That doesn't get old, and who you're working with matters. And with Kelly, your reputation supersedes you. You're going to get some of your clients' offers accepted because people know that you're an amazing agent, you're a great communicator, and you're not out here just trying to just make some money, or out here you're really trying to get people in the right homes that make sense for them. And I want you to kind of talk about when you are like in a bidding war, and your buyers for setting them up for success. Like, what are your specific tips, right? As far as like, when you're looking at these houses, you're going in for multiple bids, right? How are you setting up that expectation for your buyers right now?
So when we look at a house, we take into consideration everything that we're looking at when we walk in. When we're walking into a house, I want them to see we look at everything as a whole. And I say, okay, when we look at the age of the furnace, age of the hot water heater, take a look at the roof. Everything is situational. Everything is relative to that house. And I look at their comfort level of that, and say, okay, is this we're moving forward. This could cost a potential, this essentially. And we're taking that into consideration when making that offer. And like Andrew said, the information only inspection, there's ways to get creative with an offer. There's ways to stand out. There's ways to work with a lender, and having Becky Alley call and talk to the agent, and setting expectations with the listing agent that you're going to be a good communicator. There's just ways to maybe look a little bit better than the next guy.
Yeah, like
I
ta-da.
guess. Yeah, and maybe fill out your purchase agreement a little bit better. Completely, like with our amazing admin Betty White, who's actually in the studio as well.
Yeah,
Say
Betty
what's
is
up.
in
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
All right, so I show up to a house and I'm like, if I was showing the house, I would look over the fence and I'm like, wait a minute, you guys want quiet and everything? And you see a fire pit in your
Yeah.
neighbor's backyard and there's 20 beer cans around it. Well, that house, if you're looking for peace and quiet, that's sort of a giveaway
Yeah.
that they might be partiers.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
you just got to be observant.
yeah, pay attention to what's
Yeah.
going on around your surroundings. I
Yeah.
like that. Little things like that.
Yeah, you have to just pay attention for your people too, because people can also be, they can be a little bit blinded by excitement as well. Sometimes they just see a house and they see, oh my gosh, it's moving ready and it's so great, but then they don't see that, the roof is absolutely horrendous, or that the neighbor's grass is 3 feet tall, and
That's what I'm talking
there's
about.
like a bunch of junky
Yeah.
cars in the back.
Oh, that could be a problem for
You
you.
can't
Or
choose
there's-
your family, but you can choose your neighbors,
Yes,
right?
There you
so
go.
it's very important.
And again, I love animals. I'm an animal lover. I don't care what animal it is. They're my friends. And but next door, if you're going to show the house and there's 2 huge dogs and they're barking 24/7, it might be a sign that, hey, this is something that we might have to consider. There's just weird things with home ownership. If you drive by a home that you're in love with, maybe at 10 o'clock at night if the lights are down, see what's going on in that neighborhood. See what's going on with your next door neighbors. You're signing up for a while to hang out there, Becky, so you might as well
Yeah.
like it.
You got to get along with them, right? Cut the grass.
All right. Hey, the music says again, hey, we're up against our third break here. When we come back, 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All righty, we are back here live in the studio. Keep it here, 97.1 The Ticket. There's going to be sports following the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show. Pat Caputo, he's going to be talking about some Tiger baseball. We got football coming up, all sorts of things going on. They talk WNBA now. It's a big deal.
Yeah, you got NBA Finals. I mean, there's a lot going on.
NBA Finals. You got the hockey starting tonight. Exactly. Keep your eye on 97.1 The Ticket again. Just trying to get your she shed, your man cave all set up for you. Harvey Freed, Becky Alley with Capital Mortgage Funding. You can call us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We brought Andrew Hannigan in and Kelly McCree, of course, from the good company, Jim Schaefer and Associates, over
And
there on
Sewing Group.
9 Mile in Woodward. Great office. Woodward's jumping. Detroit's jumping. We've got so many great vibes going on. And we got a Tiger game tonight, Becky. So a lot of fun things happening around town.
Listen, I love Detroit, and people act like Detroit is coming back. It never left. Okay, Detroit's always been on and popping. Just a matter of if you're a part of
Amen.
that heartbeat or not. And they're definitely making sure the world knows that Detroit is here.
Strange stations
Also,
back
this
and
is-
everything, baby.
This is also AJ, coach, Hinch, the Tigers coach. This is his favorite radio show on the station. The Hardcore Mortgage Show is AJ's. Definitely, I'm speaking for him. He loves this show, only talking about mortgages and real estate. Tigers are going to get on their winning ways tonight for sure, Becky, because you're going down to the ballpark.
Yeah, I was there the last time I was there. They got the walk-off home run, won it by
See?
11-9. It was great. I just love being downtown. I like being around the energy, the vibes.
Going on Tuesday.
And I
Can't
like
wait.
being in the studio with these two boss
You guys, let me
biatches.
people.
before you dive in here, because we're in our last segment, let me just throw it out there. Anyone listening on the outskirts of this really deep downtown, again, the Metro Detroit area, if you live on the outskirts of town, outskirts of Macomb, anywhere really in Macomb, you can get into a USDA loan. Livingston County, Lenawee, Monroe, Genesee County, I'm going to name them all, St. Clair, Lapeer. There's a lot of surrounding listening areas here where you can get into a USDA loan. Again, rural development loans are zero down purchases. They also allow for sellers concessions. And Becky, one of the best things, zero down program, they allow credit score 620 and above. You can get these transactions done. USDA loans really should be happening for anyone on the outskirts. If you don't live really in these downtown areas, again, where we're at in the Tri-County area, all the other counties, the whole counties available for you.
So when he says outskirts, that means that you maybe can't throw a rock and hit your neighbor, right?
That kind of thing, yeah,
more
that
rural
kind of thing.
areas. But yes, you can get zero down. Zero down doesn't mean zero out of pocket, but not only do you have to qualify for USDA, but the property has to qualify for USDA. And how do you find that out? You have a conversation with a qualified lender that knows what they're doing, that's going to kind of scrub every program that they have available and present you with the best options. Because as you guys know, we are experienced individuals, trying to create unique experiences for each of our buyers because everyone's situation is different. We do have a program for each and every person.
Actually, just had a buyer purchase up in Oxford area, just almost near Lapeer.
Beautiful.
And his lender was his brother, and he utilized a USDA loan. And I was
There you go.
I didn't even think this area qualified for
And
it.
Oxford, again, it's becoming very,
And
very
you
popular.
can do a USDA and also qualify for the MISDA program and get $10,000. I mean, so there is
Yeah.
a million different ways that we can put you in a home and get you where you're going, but also keep some of that money in your pocket. So there's a lot of money out there for grabs. Don't leave it on the table, and let's set you for success. And speaking of that, I want to talk about bidding wars, right? There's still a lot of bidding wars, but as you said, there's some pullback too. So how are you guys, when you're talking and you're going into some homes, because some of them, okay, we have a real good shot of getting this. And you guys are so good at your jobs. When you are setting up those buyers and having those conversations, do you know, hey, we're going to have to go in 10, 15 over, 5? What are, how are you guys, kind of feeling that out?
I always start the conversation of okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's this house for you? You're telling me this is a 10. Awesome. I'm gonna pull every trick out of my back pocket. I'm gonna throw everything I know to throw at it, and I'm gonna list all these things. And you tell me if we need to subtract anything. You tell me if any of these items are not comfortable for you, right? So generally, those items are an escalation clause, an appraisal guarantee, an informational purposes only home inspection. You can offer to pay part of the seller's transfer taxes. You can offer to obviously give free occupancy. You can think of all these different things that are going to be competitive to wow Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Anything I'm missing, Kelly, that you can think of?
Well, you came up with some good ones really
Yeah.
off the tip of your
Yeah.
tongue. I like
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Paying a little, paying their title.
Yeah, their title and
Their
transfer.
title,
Yeah, that's huge.
I
Taking
kinda
out their
like that.
garbage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly,
Take out the garbage.
I've heard of pizza parties. I've heard of honestly the buyers paying for pizza parties at closing.
We've seen some crazier
Taco
stuff. Yeah,
Tuesday.
we've seen some fun stuff too out there.
I
you
like
know,
the paying the seller's closing costs because there's a lot where you're like, okay, we're going to ask you to put a $5,000 or a $10,000 appraisal guarantee. Well, if that value comes in low, you as a buyer, you're on the hook for that. But if you can say, okay, instead of doing that, maybe I'll pay the seller's closing costs.
There you go.
Yeah, you're on the hook for that, but it's much better than if you were on the hook for $10,000.
Absolutely.
One thing we do on our team as well, when we go into a home, and this is obviously relative to the right situation. And if there's like maybe a lot of furniture or some stuff in the home that maybe the seller might be leaving or might be inconvenient, we actually say, go ahead and leave it.
Leave whatever you want in the house.
Leave whatever you
Yep.
want in the house,
I've
and
heard
the
that too.
buyers will take care of
Yep,
it.
absolutely. That's huge.
Because I mean, you can have someone come and bring a dumpster if you really don't want it. For
You're just trying to
$300.
set your offer
Exactly.
apart from everybody else.
Because,
You're talking
yeah.
about doing all these different
Exactly,
things.
because it's
everyone's
really a
busy.
less of a convenience for the buyer to win the house than for the next person to say they have to remove everything from the house or else we don't want it, and that sets you apart.
I have a listing in Centerline right now, and that was actually part of the reason that the buyer, again, I'm representing the seller, but that was part of the reason the buyer won the offer. It's an estate situation, and the estate, I guess, like the kids are in town right now taking care of everything, but they said you can leave whatever else you don't sell from the estate sale, and it was huge to my sellers, but also the buyer's a first-time home buyer. They're like, cool, yeah, I'll take those 3 couches in the
Oh, they can use them,
I'll
yeah.
use the kitchen table, right?
Sure.
Exactly. So that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just had a first-time buyer where, actually I'm lying. She wasn't a first-time buyer, but she used one of the MSHDA programs because it was in a targeted area. She didn't have to be a first-time home buyer to capitalize on the money, but she was, it was a divorce situation and she's starting over. And the seller, had some things left in the house and she was like, I'll take it, like clean it, whatever. But it is a life-changing situation. So you can get life-changing money, but you can also take advantage of it. So that way the seller and the people, the next of kin that don't want to take the time to clean the house. Some people think it's, it's a bother to sell the house. And there's a lot going on when you lose a loved one and you're the
a lot
one
of
that's handling
emotions.
those affairs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's like educating your buyers as well, and being aware as an agent, and picking the right agent as well, to, I guess, like educate yourselves on the things that can set you apart. So
It's not
finding
worth doing
that
it
good
yourself,
relationship.
in my opinion. Like you have,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, oh, why am I, have a real estate agent? Like there's so much that goes into a transaction that you would get lost. You get lost in the sauce if someone is buying, trying to sell a house on their own or even buy on their own, because you can get taken advantage of. And I feel like a lot of times, like the, average that a seller could leave on the table is 10 to 15, if not more, thousands of dollars that they leave on the table by not having a professional on their corner guiding them through something like that.
And sometimes people make a lot of decisions out of emotions or based off a principle, instead of looking at it as a business deal or as an investment, or they'll look at it and walk away from a deal over something that realistically could maybe be
Over
$500,000, and
Something small, yeah.
realistically, like to get into a home and to win that home and that process and to be happy and have your family there. It's they're not seeing the forest through the trees sometimes.
Well, we'd
I
like
like
to.
that. I like that.
Go ahead, Beck.
No,
I
I
was
was
going to
gonna
say
say I
we'd
like
like to tell everyone the tide appears to be changing and that there's so much more inventory out there. But the real truth is
Lies.
That's not. And
Lies,
you
Malali.
really got to bolster your chances of being prepared to get this house, to win this house again.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough to call up or have a piece of paper. You've got to really understand, again, if you're a first-time home buyer, the documentation has to be turned into your lender. The lender then runs the file through the system. It says we're approved to go and that you can close in 30 days. That way you're already explaining or where you're documenting your funds to close. We can see that you qualify. The credit report has already been run. There's all these little intangibles, and these steps, if they're done properly, you're going to better your chances.
The truth is, too, I feel like there's a lot of false inventory hitting the market. You have like the off-market properties where it's showing up bought, listed and sold in one day, right? So it looks like you're getting inventory, but everyone's got these, like, what is it, pocket listings, they're called, right? And, and I feel like there's a lot of even, family changing hands. And so it's not really, it looks like there's inventory, but really there's not for the average buyer.
Exactly, because you have to list it on the MLS for the appraiser, right? For like on a pocket listing.
Yep,
Yeah.
it has to be listed.
I was actually just speaking to a woman in our office the other day that she was telling me her cousin is a real estate agent and he sold a property of his off market. I won't say where it was at, but it was $515,000 on that same street. I showed a client of mine a house for $540,000. We didn't get it. My clients didn't get it. We couldn't compete. It sold for $580,000. Those almost identical homes. How much money did he just leave on the table there? Almost
Doing that math, $65,000. I don't know.
Right.
It's like the
Yeah.
pocket listings, sure, they can make sense maybe in certain situations, but like you just left $60,000 on the table because you wanted to save 3%.
Right.
I think 3% is less than that.
Yeah.
in my mind.
You
but-
get what you pay for.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. And again, real quick, just a quick minute here about homeowners insurance. Again, we had a little snag at a house, came back from a quick vacation earlier in May, came home, there was water outside the house. The main water main broke underneath our crawl space on a 1948 cottage off the lake. Things can happen. Call your insurance agents. Again, folks with roofs, we had a lot of rougher weather recently. Find out what protection you have. You can, for $50 or $100, you can get these extra added sewer line protections. You can get waterproof coverage in your basement. A lot of great things you can do with home ownership. And again, call your insurance agent. Always having more professionals involved will help you succeed.
Don't cheap out. Insurance and everything is higher prices. It's fine. But,
Right on.
But at the same time, you don't need it till you need it. And if you are cheaping out and you're not having like the sump pump back up, and you can even do $1 million umbrella policies that cover everything, even if you were to get in a car accident, God forbid, right? You need to make sure that you're protected. And even like when we talk about going over asking and things like that, for example, let me just give you some easy math. For every $1,000 that your home goes up or down, it's going to affect your payment by $7. So if you need to go from 130 to 120 or 135, your payment's only going to go up $35 for you to win